Okay, this is now the tarot lesson number 10. And it's mainly about how to do a reading for somebody. But before that, in the last video, I actually made the last video twice. And the first time I discovered that the battery ran out of power halfway through, so I had to do it again. And in the first version, when I talked about blessings of love, wanting more color, I brought on the painting and then pointed out, it's meant to make you laugh. I thought it was quite witty myself. But so anyway, I'm not in any way criticizing or I don't want blessings of love to be upset, because that was not the intention. I wasn't making fun. It was more like to try and give you a laugh and a break during the seriousness of the video. So anyway, that's why I mentioned that in the first version of the video, but I forgot when I did it a second time. So anyway, today Evelyn said she does free readings for friends and family, and she wants to know, is there some way to tell from the cards that come up what area of life is the card or the reading is about? So I'd like to make 2 points about that approach. And the thing is, the reader may know, but we can't be sure, or we can't always know that the questioner or the person the reading is for is going to want to cooperate. Because let's say I say to you, okay, tell me about me. And you pick 3 cards, and the first one's the devil, and you talk about the devil. So let's say I'm lusting after my neighbor's wife or husband or son or daughter. And so you talk about the devil. And so I know what you're talking about, but I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to admit it. So, or maybe I'm a real estate agent and I'm going to sell a house to somebody, and I know there's problems with the house, but I'm not telling them because I want the commission. And so I know what the devil's about, but am I going to share that with you who may or may not know me? I don't think so. So this is what I think we're up against when it comes to reading for other people. So you can give underlying truth and all sorts of useful information, but the person won't always admit it, or doesn't want to admit it to themselves, or you know what I mean? So you can have problems if you, the reader, want to know for sure what the spread is about, or what area of life is being affected for the questioner. So, and it's not always bad things like the devil that people don't want to admit to, because it can be that you pick a card at random and you talk about it and it makes so much sense. So even if it's like good news and good information, it can kind of scare people and make them think, this, I didn't bargain for this. This is not what I expected of my tarot reading. So they don't want to share. They don't want to cooperate. They don't want to know more. And it's a kind of like an existential problem. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote about this. So you can look at what somebody's doing and how they're behaving, and you can point out to them what they ought to do better, or how they can make a change and have a better life. And in that way, you're making them free or more free. But the thing is, you can't force people to be free. And that, I think, is what you're up against. You can be up against with a tarot reading. So I think it's always better if they come to you and ask you to do something. So what do you do instead of just hoping that you get the right cards? One thing Evelyn mentioned about how she does readings for free. This is a mistake. I know people tell you that you shouldn't charge for tarot readings, and if you're just a beginner, you shouldn't charge. You should charge. Get people to give you a coin or something, some cash money that you can spend if you want to before you do a reading. It makes everything cleaner and better, and I'll go into this in more detail later if anybody asks. but it's really it's a good idea to get paid something, because it changes the nature of the relationship, and it changes the nature of the exercise of picking cards. So I think what you do is somebody says to you, can you do a reading for me? And it's a family or friend, and they say, okay, well, give me a quarter and I'll do something for you. So they give you a quarter or whatever your currency is. And then you say to them, pick a number between 1 and 9 and tell me which one. And pick a number between 0 and 22 and tell me which one. So you've now got 2 cards you can talk about. We've got the Hermit, and we've also got a second card that I'll get to in a minute. So let's say they pick the number 9. What you're doing with major trumps is you may be giving them a bit of philosophy, right? A way of understanding what's going on in their life at the moment and what's coming up and the best way to handle it, or what they might think about in order to handle the situation well. And you're basing what you say on the card that comes up or the number that they chose. So let's say it's the Hermit that comes up. So you talk about how at the moment you may feel as if you're on your own, but it's a good idea to isolate yourself from other people, think things through, and begin to make wise choices. The wise old man on his own somewhere with a light in front of him. Maybe he's looking for light, or he's looking for brightness and bright answers, or a better, more illuminated lifestyle, or whatever it happens, whatever turn of phrase you would use to talk about the Hermit. And so you say, isolate yourself for a bit, think it through, because you also pick the number 13, which is the Death card, because there are new beginnings coming up in your life. And so if you go into the new beginnings with clear ideas of what you're looking for, things will go well. Or you're going to face changes represented by the Death card, but you're not really going to know what you want or what direction to go in, so you're more likely to make mistakes. So what you're doing with it, with a little story like that, is giving them a way of understanding what's going on that they can make use of in their own way. You don't need to know the details. You don't need to know whether it's a change of occupation or a change of partner or whatever it happens to be. Maybe they're going to relocate to a new city. You don't need to know any of that, but you're giving them the idea. Think things through. Become clear in your own mind about what is a wise decision, or what behavior would make you feel wise and in charge of your own life, so to speak. Because the Hermit looks like he's wise and he sort of knows what he's doing. So this is because that's coming, or else because the Sun is coming up, right? So isolate yourself, think it through, because you've got new beginnings coming up, because you've got incredible possibilities or great starts coming up, or there's going to be success. There's going to be opportunities for success coming up because of the nature of the Sun card. The sun will be shining on you. So if you go into it with your eyes open, you'll get more from the sunshine. If you go into the sunshine with your eyes closed because you didn't take time to think it through, then it's going to be okay. It's going to be good and nice and warm and pleasant, but you're not going to be able to see that much about the best way to deal with the situation. So if you do something like that, where you now the questioner has a background, and then you say to them, is there anything you want to ask about? And then they say, well, tell me more about the opportunities that are coming up. And so you, for instance, do that, and you pick, okay, of 3 opportunities, well, I'll pick 3 cards to represent the opportunities. On the one hand, with the 5 of Batons, and you talk about there's going to be competition with other people, so this can be the reason why you need to have an idea in advance about what it is that you want to do. Then we've got the Ace of Cups reversed. You're going to be disappointed in some different area of your life, because Cups is love and it's upside down, and it's an ace for a new beginning. So it could be that it depends who it is. If the person's unmarried or single, you can talk about how it maybe makes sense that you're somebody you like the look of, but it's not going to work out particularly. So that's another reason for you being clear about what it is you're looking for in a relationship. or if it's somebody who is married, then with the Ace of Cups reversed, you might talk about how time for a new start. So your partner, whoever it happens to be nice to them. So if you feel like going out or going to someplace new or doing something new and different, do it and see what happens rather than talk yourself out of it. And the third card, Strength reversed. This is more complicated than I thought it might be, but with Strength reversed, that can be another reason for you to figure out what's a wise decision. I'm sort of rushing through this. I would like to come back to it, but I'm not doing more at the moment with that, because I want you to I know I'm skipping that last bit because I need a little bit of time to think about it. But I want you to make this point, because the tarot. So we've got T-A-R-O-T. So this is because somebody asked for more numbers. And I remembered when I was doing this, preparing it, I remember that there's an author called Doris Lessing. And it was either Martha Quest or The Golden Notebook. And she talked about how she was living in London in the 1950s, I think it was. And she and her friends would cast a horoscope. Let's say they didn't know whether they wanted tea or not. So they'd cast a horoscope to find out if it was a good moment to drink tea, which is just crazy. And so when it comes to numbers, you can go mental with it, and you can just go to ridiculous lengths. So I made the point last time, I think it was, that if you're stuck, or if you want a different approach or a different angle, then by all means figure out the number of the word, or the number of that you're dealing with. So tarot is 18. I mean, I mentioned before, but that's the moon card, right? But if the tarot, T-H-E is 14. So tarot is 18. The tarot is 32, which is a 5. So maybe what you do is, on your own time or whenever you feel like it, you do, the tarot is 32. You put 3 and 2 together. So the tarot is a combination of the Empress and the High Priestess. So maybe the tarot was double-sided. On the one hand, it's sociable and friendly and optimistic and confident and worldly, right, because it's the Empress. But there's another side too, which is private and occult and deep thought and study and so on. So maybe this is what you do with a reading. On the one hand, you do fortune telling, as I've called it, where you talk about normal everyday life. You also try to give the person an idea of the underlying truth or the lesson that could be learned. And the two together equal 5, the Hierophant. And the Hierophant, so we've got, so the tarot is also about you being a teacher or passing on information to somebody else. And you can do it with a reading where you talk about everyday life, but you also talk about the underlying meaning, or what can be learned from a normal everyday experience, so that the person goes into the future better able to deal well with whatever comes their way. So on the one hand, you're the teacher at this point, but also we're meant to educate ourselves, because there are people down below learning. And so I think it's important that we remember the tarot and understand that we're supposed to be educating ourselves in all sorts of different ways. Not necessarily just reading tarot books or astrology books or whatever it happens to be, but more paying attention to what we come across, and paying attention to the ideas that come to us, and write them down, and do things. That was it. I suddenly came to an end. So today's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for number 11. And if you have any comments, let me know, and I'll see if I can deal with them. Otherwise, thank you for watching as usual. Have a good day. Okay, bye-bye.